Are the Miami Dolphins in a win now mode? We're going to address that. What is up, Finn fans? So I was thinking about this, and I talked about it in yesterday's video, where I'm going to talk about kind of what the direction the Miami Dolphins are in, right? Because a lot of people will say, oh, we got to think about contracts. We have to think about down the road. We have to think about this. We have to think about that. And if you really look at the way their contracts are structured, especially their big name guys, it kind of seems, and I've been saying this for all of offseason, the Dolphins are trying to win something in the next 2 years. And Omar Kelly even came out with an article saying Dolphins window to win it all closes soon. So we're going to go over this article, and then I'm going to talk to you about a lot of the contracts, a lot of the math, and how they might be in all-in mode, but not as bad as the Rams were after getting their Super Bowl after the 2021 season. So let's go over it. So Omar Kelly, like I said, came out with the article, Dolphins window to win it all closes soon. He says NFL teams typically work in a window of 3 to 4 years that often start with the scorched earth rebuild. Maybe it's new general manager, who's the first domino for, or a head coach, and often it's the quarterback. Sometimes it's all three. If the Dolphins' case, the rebuild began in 2019 when Mike Tannenbaum was stripped of his power as the team's top executive, and that honor, responsibility, power was handed to general manager Chris Grier, who had been in the role since 2016, but never was the franchise's top executive in the football side of the organization. Again, a lot of people go back and look at like 26, 27, 2018 moves and go, oh, Chris Grier, you're the worst. He wasn't really making those moves. Again, he was part of it, and you guys can go back and watch 2012's reaction to when the Dolphins drafted Tannehill. Chris Grier didn't look too happy, but I'm not making excuses for Chris Grier because there's some moves he made that are super dumb, no egg monogamy. Brian Flores replaced Adam Gase as the head coach that offseason. 3 years later, Mike McDaniel replaced him following Flores' troublesome divorce with the franchise. But since 2019, when Grier took over and Miami hired Flores and traded away quarterback Ryan Tannehill, the Dolphins have been building an organization with young nucleus, and the goal is to make the Dolphins a championship contender for years to come. That's always the goal, but is it happening? Miami might have changed coaches, but not course. That's why it's healthy to acknowledge that the 2023 is the season's fifth of the rebuild, which means it's playoff or pivot time. And yeah, 2019, like Omar said, scorched earth. Traded Larry Tunsil, traded Ryan Tannehill. You traded a lot of players, and then you built draft pick, because you were building that foundation. You were building those young, talented players. And now we're at year 5 because you go 10-6, and then you start the next season 1-7. That's why it's healthy to acknowledge that 2023 season, I already said that. The way Miami has conducted business the past 2 seasons, adding important but expensive pieces like Tyreek Hill, Teron Armstead, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Ramsey, and a financial strain on the horizon because it's going to be extremely expensive to keep this collection of talent together past 2023. And I have the numbers here. Miami already is $32 million over the projected salary cap in 2024, and there are 29 impending free agents like Roquan Davis, Robert Hunt, Brandon Jones, looking for their first big payday. Now, Robert Hunt, we already talked about that, looking at about $8.5 million. They can restructure his contract this year and save Miami some money. Roquan Davis, it depends on what he wants because he hasn't really panned out to be that player that the Dolphins needed. Brandon Jones is a very good, blitzing safety, but his coverage is bad, and he's a 3rd-round pick. So, I wouldn't mind bringing him back, but again, not a lot of money. The Dolphins are one of 8 teams over the projected salary cap for 2024, and of that group, only the Dolphins, Bills, San Francisco 49ers, Jets, and Los Angeles Chargers can view themselves as teams realistically trying advance to the Super Bowl. So again, 8 teams are over the cap in 2024, And the Bills, the Dolphins, the 49ers, the Jets, and the Chargers are 5 of those 8 teams. And you name those 5, those teams are very talented this year. Even though the Dolphins have roughly $12 million in cap space heading into training camp in late July, every decision making with this team finances, whether it's pursuing Pro Bowl tailback Dalvin Cook or signing a veteran linebacker or defensive lineman, has domino cascade that will fall in 2024 and beyond. However, owner Stephen Ross has never cried poverty and usually has written big checks to bail Miami out of some tough spots. So why worry about tomorrow's bill when you can live for today by focusing on maximizing this season, the talent, and the roster? The window is now. This season, and if 2023 fails for whatever reason, whether it's because of the quarterback injury, offensive line struggle, an offense or defensive regression, a full-fledged reset is inevitable because it's unlikely Ross will write big checks to push forward with an 8-9 win team. I couldn't agree with that statement more, and I will talk about that in a second. 5 years of a rebuild is enough to determine if the franchise is heading in the right direction and if the people selecting and coaching the talent know what they're doing. Everyone associated with the Dolphins organization knows this, which is why we're witnessing a couple of impending free agents jockeying for a new deal this offseason, pressing to get their slice of the pie before it's time for the franchise to sign Tua to a massive contract that likely will eat up 20% of the salary cap based on Daniel Jones deal, $40 million a year, Jalen Hurts, $51 million, Lamar Jackson, $52 million, got this offseason from their respective teams. That is what's on the horizon if the season goes as planned, which would indicate the rebuild is on track. Miami can find a way to press forward for one more season by restructuring players and handing out longer deals that feature a substantial amount of signing bonus money, but it needs to be worth Ross's time, effort, and financial commitment. Ross always has been willing to spend the money, making the financial investment to keep the talent or to upgrade the facility, but at some point he needs to draw a line in the sand. There must be a motivating factor to inspire him. Anything short of the franchise's first playoff win since 2000 likely won't do it. The point of rebuild is to create new foundation. The Dolphins have done that the past 4 years without any excuses made. This season will indicate whether it's a solid one, something worth keeping together, or is it a clunker that needs to be sent to be reset and sent to the junkyard. So he said some good things. Omar, great article, but he said something really important, and it is Ross has always been willing to spend money making the financial investment to keep the talent or upgrade the facility, but at some point he's drawn the line in the sand, essentially saying that the Dolphins in 2024 are going to be a little bit, they're going to be in cap hell, right? They are going to have negative 30, I think he said 34 million in cap space in 2024. And like he said, 31.6 million. Stephen Ross has no problem writing that check and turning a lot of these big numbers into signing bonuses. So like Omar said, why worry about today? What's down the road, whatever. But the Miami Dolphins are definitely in a win now mode. They're definitely in a mode where they need to, like he said, make some moves and they need to win. This is an offseason where I'm hearing a lot of the Dolphins are Super Bowl contenders if Tua can stay healthy. The Dolphins are one of the scariest teams in the AFC if Tua can stay healthy. A lot of this is what I'm hearing. And if you look at the contracts for these players, it makes sense. Now, a big chunk, and I'm going to minimize myself because I'm a visual learner, so I'm assuming you guys, or some of you guys as well, are visual learners. So we'll look at the Miami Dolphins, right? This is 2023. We got some money. We got 13.4 million. We can get more. You restructure, and I'll show you. I already talked about that. You can get 14.8 million. Talked about that in yesterday's video. which gives us about 26, 27 because you still have to sign Cam Smith. That's fine there. But we're going to look at some of these players, and we're going to look at some of the big names, right? First and foremost, Emmanuel Ogbah. If you look at Emmanuel Ogbah's contract, after this year, there's an out, and there's a big out. They can cut him immediately and save $13.8 million, or they can wait till June 1st to release or trade him and save $15.8 million. So if Emmanuel Ogbah does not duplicate what he did before he got hurt, he's probably going to get released, and the Dolphins are going to save a huge chunk of change to put towards that negative 34 million, 31, whatever million dollars. There's also Tyreek Hill. If you guys remember, Tyreek Hill said he wants to play for 2 more years and then he's going to retire, right? And you look at his contract, this year he's getting $12 million because they signed a big chunk of his money to a signing bonus. And next year he's getting $31 million. And again, if the Dolphins are strapped for cash and they need cap space because there's so-and-so that they want to go after, Stephen Ross, like Omar Kelly said, has no problem writing a check to convert it into a signing bonus and go after whoever. But you have to prove that there's a reason to do it. But he's getting at $31 million. But again, he said 2 more years because he is 7th year, right? 2 more years. You look at 2025, huge out. You could save $11.6 million cutting him after 2024, or you can wait till June 1st and save $22.9 million. Like I kept telling you guys, 2023 and 2024, this year and next year are the years. And if there is no substantial winning, or if there is no substantial proving of, oh, we're in the right direction, they are going to reset. Like Omar said, after 2024, they are going to reset because they can save a lot of money. Tyreek Hill's not the only one, right? You look at Xavier Howard. This seems like a foregone conclusion as much as I love X, but Kader Kohou did really well last year. You draft Cam Smith. You bring in Jalen Ramsey. It seems like this might be X's last year. So again, we're at negative 30-something million in cap space. You already saw what happens if we cut Emmanuel Ogbah. If we cut Xavier Howard, you only save $2 million, but you do a post-June 1st, and it's $14.5 million savings. So unfortunately, it seems like that's a foregone conclusion for next year. But again, talking about these next 2 years, you look at Teron Armstead. We got to find his replacement. But again, same thing with Tyreek Hill, 2023, 2024. You look at 2025. If they straight up cut him right away, $7.9 million in savings. If they release him post June 1st, $14.3 million savings. It's the next 2 years. I am not done. Bradley Chubb. Hey, Doug, we just picked him up. Yeah, we did. The next 2 years. 2025. If we cut him flat out, it's a $10.2 million savings. If we wait till June 1st, it is a $20.2 million savings. Are you done, Doug? I think I'm done. I think I'm done. Those are the big names, right? Those are the big names that we can move on from in the next 2 years and save a buttload of money. Again, 2025, if the Dolphins are like, look, you have not, like 2020, this year, right? Say we make the playoffs, we win, we get however far, we get our first win in 22 years, and we don't make it to the Super Bowl. But hey, there's promise. We got that win. Okay, we need to keep this team together. We need to add 1 or 2 more pieces, whether it's a quarterback. Again, I'm not saying I'm hoping it, but whether it's a quarterback, whether it's more to the offensive line, whether it's more to the defensive line, because again, we can release Emmanuel Ogbah, whatever it is. We're so close to that Super Bowl, right? You look at the Bengals. They got to the Super Bowl Or you look at other teams that were just right there, then they added the pieces and they made it to the Super Bowl. We're so close. That's where Stephen Ross will whip out his checkbook and say, okay, I'll convert some of these contracts to signing bonuses, like Tyreek Hill, $31 million, converted to a signing bonus. You look at some of the big contract hits in 2024. I'll tell you in a second. Tyreek Hill, $31 million. Jalen Ramsey, $27 million. Oh, Jalen Ramsey. I forgot to talk about Jalen Ramsey. Let me, real quick. Forgot to talk to you guys about Jalen Ramsey. 2024. After 2024, they can move on, say $15.9 million, or post June 1st, $19.5 million. Again, 2 years. But anyway, this is 2024. You got Tyreek Hill, $31 million. Jalen Ramsey, $27 million. Bradley Chubb, $26 million. Xavier Howard won't be on the roster. They save that cap space. And then you got Tua, $23 million. If he balls out, you sign him to a long-term contract. That number goes down. Teron Armstead, 20. Like, you have these big numbers out of these guys. Stephen Ross will whip out his checkbook. And okay, how much do we need? Who do you want to get? This, and that. Convert it to a signing bonus. We have first-round pick next year. We have a second-round pick next year. See what I'm saying? So if the Dolphins show big improvement and there's no regression, there's no normal Dolphin, there's no 2008 to 2009, there's no 2016 to 2017. We make it to the playoffs, we lose. Next year, we suck. There's none of that. There's the continuum progression. Stephen Ross will take out his checkbook. But if we don't make the playoffs, and then all of a sudden it's the same mundane stuff, it's a reset. 2025 will be a reset. And I showed you all the names. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, Bradley Chubb, Teron Armstead, all of these guys. You cut them, and the Dolphins will have a ridiculous amount of cap space. And I'm talking, if I do the math on the top of my head, like 60 million around in cap space to restart. You get yourself a new quarterback, because again, you're going into 2025. Tua plays on his the fifth year option. Afterwards, if he doesn't pan out and the team falters again, if the team falters, he's a part of it. You move on, clean slate, the whole thing. So again, to answer the question, are the Miami Dolphins in a win now mode? Yes. And I've been saying it time in and time out all offseason. It's the 2-year window. It's this year and it's next year. Not only does Stephen Ross want to see it because he's invested a lot of money, like Omar said, he's opening his checkbook, giving these guys the signing bonuses and converting it to bonuses, which essentially comes out of his pocket. But he's not going to... I could see this happening. This is what I could see happening if the Dolphins falter, right? And I'm not saying I see it happening. I'm saying this is what I could see happen if that happens. Mike McDaniel's gone. Chris Greer's gone. Stephen Ross is gone. I could see after 2024, that he's like, I'm done. And he sells the team. Whether he used to have somebody else in his trust, but after the whole Tom Brady, Sean Payton thing, he's not part of it anymore. I think his daughter is or something like that. But I think he moves on. I think it's a complete restart from top to bottom. And I'm talking tippity top to bottom after 2024 if there is no trajectory, right? But if the Dolphins win and then they keep winning and then they keep showing advancement and they keep showing, they're right there to the Super Bowl. Whether it's, again, they need that offensive lineman, the Bengals. They need that quarterback, the Eagles, or whoever you want to say. They just, prime example, the Rams. They just needed that quarterback. They get Stafford. They get the Super Bowl ring. Whether it's one move or whatever, Steve Ross, like I said, take out that checkbook. Let's convert some of this money. Let's get some cap space. Go do what you got to do, and let's win a Super Bowl. If not, he's going to say, you're fired. You're fired. I'm selling the team. Because there's already rumbles of him selling the team. There's already, like I said, he already had somebody an heir apparent to the team, but that went away because of the whole scandal. So, but there was already somebody in the wings. He's not getting any younger. So the Dolphins are, in my opinion, are definitely in a win now mode. And to me, it's a 2-year window. It's this year and next year. So, again, that's where the thought process of bringing in Dalvin Cook comes in. Because, yes, Raheem Mostert and Zach Wilson are nice, but they're not a Dalvin Cook, right? We like to look at stats, right? And we see that 4.92. And we're like, wow, that's sexy. But it's a little skewed, right? Because against Buffalo in week 14, he had 8 yards per carry. 17 rushes, 136 yards. But again, against New England, 3.2 yards a carry. Against the Chargers, 3.3 yards per carry. Against Chicago, 2.8 yards per carry. Against Minnesota, 3.5 yards per carry. Against Buffalo, 1.3 yards per carry. Against New England, 3.2 yards per carry. There's some of the numbers, like against Cleveland at 8.1 yard per carry because he rushed 8 times. Kind of inflate those numbers. I'm not saying Mostert's bad, but I'm saying if you have the opportunity to add Dalvin Cook, especially because you're in the mode you're in right now, you do it. I'm getting redundant. I'm repeating myself a lot, but it's the same thing with Kader Kohou. Go look at his ranking. Go look at his stats. Go look at where they have him ranked for an undrafted free agent. But Jalen Ramsey became available. They went and got him. Cam Smith became available in the second round. They went and got him. It's the same thing. If you can add really good players to this team and it's not going to break the bank, they're going to do it. And I'm going to make a video talking about, potential free agents the Dolphins can add before training camp. And there's a few. There's 3 or 4 off the top of my head right now. But the Dolphins are definitely in a win now mode. And again, to me, it's this year and next year. And if they don't do something big, they're going to restart. Because essentially, Mike McDaniel gets his 3 years. You get 3 years. Brian Flores, he got 3 years. His last year, they started 1-7. That's why he got fired. They didn't start 1-7. He made better decisions. And yes, he controlled the roster. I understand it's a him and Greer thing. He would still be the head coach. Mike McDaniel's getting 3 years. Chris Greer, I don't know. That man's got pictures of Stephen Ross dancing in a tutu or something, because I don't know how he's still... I would have fired him and Brian Flores, but that's what I got for you. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the thumbs up. It lets me know. Comment below. And if you're new, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to be talking tight ends. Might be a short video, so if you want to be in comment of the day, leave a comment below saying comment of the day, or you can send me a video. Either DM me on Instagram or Twitter, or you can email it to me. Emails in the description. Other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Like usual, stay classy. Events up.